morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Adesua.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rufa.
Good morning, Mr. Efeni.
Yes. Now let's start with these days newspapers. The lead story, straight from the morning show, if you will. Malami to open up on Magu, ready to testify before Salami panel, says P&ID judgment victory for Nigeria. Of course, that story from Malami's interview, exclusive interview on the Arise News channel. The morning show, to be specific, yesterday. But the photograph on the front page of these day newspapers tells a lot of story. Straight from the inauguration of the National Steering Committee for preparation of the National Development Plan, that is Vision 2050, if you will. The three men in that photograph, described by this day Nigeria's newspaper of record as King's College Mafia, Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, a frontline businessman at Tedo Peterside, and of course, National Security Advisor, Major General Baba Gana Mongono, retired. All old students of King's College, Lagos. Some mafia developing there. Well, let's just look at what other newspapers are reporting. Of course, the Daily Independent has the story agenda 2050 on its front page. Buhari includes opposition in committee to lead new development plan. Optimistic plan will lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty by the year 2030. Left to be seen. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper. Nigeria's total debt hits 31 trillion naira. GMO, IMF new borrowing raised liability to 2 trillion naira. Banks Q2 credit to private sector now 18.82 trillion naira. Non-performing loans dropped to 1.2 trillion naira. 2,477 jobs lost. Now, the Daily Times of Nigeria has the story. China's sweet loans stoke debt trap warnings, while the Punch newspaper, Nigeria borrowed 18.89 trillion naira under Buhari regime. Report, federal state governments debt rise by 2.38 trillion, hit 31 trillion. Lagos, Rivers, Akwa Ibom post highest debt. That's the Punch newspaper. Now, the Nigerian Tribune, also still on the debt situation. Nigeria's debt rises by 2.38 trillion in 3 months, hit 31 trillion naira. Well, the Vanguard newspaper has a different story altogether. APC, federal government deceived Nigerians on subsidy, according to the TUC, the Trade Union Congress, as well as other civil society organizations. Say government claimed in 2016 subsidy had been removed. Notes, government promised to use differential between 86.50 naira and 145 naira per liter to fix refineries, fund welfare services for Nigerians, etc. Yes, government being reminded of its promises when petrol, the price of PMS moved from 86.5 naira to 145 naira per liter. Refineries still in coma. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper has, as its lead story, 264 Nigerians commit suicide in 4 years. Depression, job losses, family crisis, top reasons. 800,000 died globally through self-murder, according to the World Health Organization. COVID-19 fueled suicide cases in 2020, while government, parents, clerics key to ending suicide. The Nation newspaper, APC, PDP in crossfire over petrol, electricity rate hike. If we just look at the foreign newspaper, the Independent newspaper of the UK, the Independent newspaper, Christmas under threat from COVID restrictions, warning of difficult months ahead as infections rises in the UK. And of course, the Guardian of the UK has a story revealed. Prime Minister's £100 billion to avoid second national lockdown. Yes, Boris Johnson is planning what is described as Operation Moonshot to get 10,000 million tests, 10 million tests a day in the UK, although the facility or technology to do that is not in place, but that is what is planning in order to avoid a second lockdown. But again, the Daily Mail has a story, there goes Christmas, because the traditional family Christmas is at risk with the restriction that not more than 6 family members or friends can gather at a time. But before we discuss, if we have time, we look at the Washington Post. I wanted to always play it down. That is President Trump. President Trump knew of coronavirus danger, but says, according to the, Bob Wood, in the Bob Wood book, Bob Wood is the associate editor of the Washington Post, who had that interview with President Trump, which he has published in his book, that he deliberately minimized the threat to avoid panic. And that minimization has cost a lot of lives. If he had told the truth, as he knew it earlier enough, at least 84,000 Americans who are now dead would have been saved from the pandemic. But what President Trump did was to play it down. Is it a case of convoluted reasoning or just self-interest, political interest driving his policy at the expense of the lives of Americans? Ruben, Rufai, and Adesua. So much to talk about, little time to talk about them.
Trump at the height of all of this. And I'm excited about that Bob Woodward's book coming out. I heard Trump on Hannity this morning. There's a show, Fox, called Hannity. It wasn't convincing. A leader doesn't talk that way. You want to play it down for what? You think it will go away?
Well, but Trump is not informed.
You think it will go away, Trump? You've killed people now.
But Trump is not alone in this regard. We've also seen across Africa, in Burundi, in Tanzania, leaders who played it down because they thought if they played it up, people would panic. But in spite of that, you know, what is important is for leaders to take measures, not to mislead the public, to place public health safety above their own political considerations. That's where we've been seeing the disconnect. Not just in the United States, but in some other parts of the world. Even in the UK, I mean, there are people, politicians, ordinary people, blaming Prime Minister Boris Johnson for not handling the pandemic well.
There's no excuse for this. He said he didn't want to create panic, but he understood the gravity of this virus. Yet he went ahead and he held 6 rallies. 6 rallies where people were not wearing masks, where he told them not to wear masks, where he himself did not show leadership by not wearing masks, and he knew it was airborne.
Ask them to sign off.
Exactly. So it was bad leadership. It was a bad call.
And I think that should help Americans make their decision easily, honestly. Thank you so much, Mr.
It's not that easy. It's not that easy.
Anyway, that's all on the headline news.